Hey there, good looking. Join me in this short low back strengthening workout. Listen, it's no secret that a strong core will help keep your back healthy and happy. In today's workout, we're going to focus on your deep core muscles in addition to the low back extensors so that whatever you're doing in real life, whatever activity you enjoy to do, you can continue doing it. And this will also help you on your lifting days when you're working out with dumbbells. Today's workout requires absolutely no equipment. In fact, you don't even need shoes. Now, if you're doing this in real time, this is also day 16 of the Unstoppable Challenge, Volume 2. All right, let's go get started. All right, we're staying low for this entire workout, so let's set up on our back with our knees bent, heels close to the bum, arms just resting down by your sides. Just find a nice, easy breathing pattern. Back of the neck is long. And then on an inhale, I want you to lift the belly up. On an exhale, push the low back into the mat and tilt your pelvis. Inhale, lift. Exhale, press in. So these are pelvic tilts. So we want to make sure that we're moving through the pelvis, not through the shoulders. If you have osteoporosis, you'll just limit your range of motion here, in particular as you're rolling the pelvis up. This is giving us a connection to the core, into the pelvis region. A little bit of a warm-up as well. As you progress, you might be able to lift up a little higher, what we call extension. Coming onto all fours, wrists under shoulders, knees apart underneath the hips. Find a neutral spine for me. Starting with the left arm, extend it straight out with the opposite leg. And then tap the knee underneath the belly. So we're going to stay with this one side for the entire set, reaching it fingers to toes. Once you've seen me, take a gaze just at the top of your mat. If you're having a hard time with your balance, maybe tuck the back toes into the mat. I find that helps me give a bit more stability. We're not overarching at the back as we extend that leg. We're trying to just come parallel to our ground. Rotating the thumb up to the ceiling as we extend that arm. And breathe with each rep. This isn't a race. Slow and controlled. Finding that stability, that strength in the trunk. Let's do one more. All right. Left hand plugs underneath the wrist. Spread the fingers wide on that left side. Right toe tucks in. Now extend the right arm and opposite leg. Thumb pointed up on the arm. Tap under the belly. Extend out again. Now when we think of the core, we also need to think about many other areas of the body when we want to keep, for instance, our low back strong and healthy. When we've completed this exercise, which is working the extensors of your spine, we're going to move into more of a hip mobility drill. Tight hips can cause a lot of havoc to the low back. Reach it. And then we'll also add a thoracic spine mobility drill so we get the whole entire area done. Flex the foot. One more. Release. All right, I want you to step your left foot and come onto both hands just beside that left foot. Now you can come on the outside edge of that left foot. Back knee can be on the mat if this is too much. Otherwise, I want you to lift it up, press through that heel, bring that left elbow in, rotate the body, turning to the wall to your right, and then up and reach. So here we're opening up through the hips and working into the T-spine as we come under, elbow coming as close to the ground as we can get. Maybe you're touching the ground with the elbow, but rotating lifting, reaching, and then we're strong in that back leg. If you're off your knee, you're pressing that back heel to the wall behind you. Other hand's just under the shoulder. Let's do a couple more and then we'll get set up and do the other side. One more. Release the knee. Now let's step forward with that right foot. Hands are beside the right foot. You can walk that right foot to the outside edge of your mat and then come on the outside edge of the foot. Now take that right arm, elbow to ground, rotate, look up. Here we go, come down. Can we get that elbow to the ground? Breathe. Back leg is strong. Again, you have that option to drop it on the mat if holding this low lunge is too much. Otherwise, I want you to push the heel to the wall behind you. They call this the world's greatest stretch. Moving into some core work specific to the obliques coming up in about 10 seconds. Let's do one more. Lower the back knee. Let's start with the left side for me. Find the left elbow underneath the shoulder. We'll start out here in an alternate, in the modified move. Lift up, and you want to stay on that bottom knee. Lift the hip, and then press yourself out of that bottom shoulder. You can extend this top arm up if you'd like, or keep it on the waist. If you want to increase the intensity, straighten your bottom leg, maybe stack the feet or scissor them. But let's lift that hip up and away from our mat, holding, working the transverse abdominis and the obliques to hold us against gravity here, to stabilize that spine of ours. We have 45 seconds here, and then we'll do the other side. There's no doubt you're going to feel that bottom arm and shoulder too. There's no getting around that. In 3, 2, 1, release. Whew. All right, so let's start on that bottom knee. Elbow under shoulder, palm flat on your ground. Lift up, and I want you to push the hips forward. I don't want your hips pushing rear. Arm can come up or rest it on the waist. Again, squeeze the hips so that you've got one long line. If you'd like, straighten that bottom leg, lift the hip up a little higher, resting on that outside edge of the foot. Feeling the fire, huh? We're almost there. 3, 2, 1, release. All right, now let's go back to the other side. Have both knees bent forward of the body slightly. Feet are stacked. Elbow back under the shoulder. Now let's get back into that bridge, and then as you lift, I want you to push the hips towards me. Perfect. Now keep the feet together and just lift that top knee up. So we're combining this core stability move with a glute med exercise, your clamshell. So these outer hip muscles are also responsible for a lot of stability of the hip, and if they're weak, they can cause havoc to the low back, hips, and even the knees. This one exercise alone really helped me when I was suffering with herniated discs. 2 of them, lucky me. Go big or go home. Last few seconds. One more. Whew. All right, got the other side. So knees are bent. They're forward of the body just a bit, but then we're remembering when we come up, we push the hips forward. So we're still in that long line. Feet stay together, lift the top knee. Stay out of that bottom shoulder. Opening and closing. Now this bottom hip's going to fatigue pretty darn quickly because it worked the other side, right? Excuse me. Choked on that word. Moving into some really nice spinal extensions in 20 seconds. Release the hip down. All right, let's take yourself onto your stomach. Tuck your toes into the mat. We're not going to worry about the lower body. Hands are just under the shoulders, a bit wider. Using your back muscles, I want you to lift up, coming as high as you can. Slight pause here, and then release. So as you lift up, I want you to maybe lift your hands up off the mat so that they hover off the mat too, just so you don't get in the habit of pushing off with the hands. We want it to come through the extensors of the spine. And then once you've established that the feet are going to stay there, you can just let the tops of the feet rest on your mat. Your extension might be bigger than mine. It might be little. I want you to work with what's going to feel best for your back without any pinching, any nerve. You don't want to feel any tingling. I like that one too, and that's the other one that saved my bacon when I had herniated disc. All right, we're moving into just a plank because you cannot address your core without doing a plank. We can stay on the knees. Let's get elbows under shoulders and then rotate so that the wrists stay lined up with the elbows. Palms flat on the mat, lift up, or tuck your toes under and lift the knees up as well. But let's keep an eye on those elbows and those wrists. We want the wrists lined up with the elbows and the elbows tucked under the shoulders. Once you've seen all that and you've seen me, let's take a gaze at the top of the mat. Breathe it out. Ten more seconds, then we're just going to move into a nice little mobility flow, working all of the vertebrae, moving all of the vertebrae in the spine. 3, 2, 1, drop down. Big toes together, knees are open, sit back in child's pose, and then around the spine, come forward into cobra, drop the hips, look up. Good job. For my friends with osteo, you're just going to keep a limited range of motion, so you might not sit all the way back on the heels, but by all means, go for that cobra. If you're with me, working through that full range of motion, we're rounding the spine as we move into cobra, dropping the hips, looking up. I know this isn't a traditional cobra for my yogis, but I don't know how else to call this exercise, so we just called it child's pose to cobra. We're just trying to articulate through each vertebrae, rounding as we sit back, or rounding as we come forward, and then extending and looking up. Let's do 2 more. And come on up. Thank you so much for joining me. I really hope that this helped your low back. If you would like to strengthen your low back, I recommend doing this workout. It can be done daily, but at least twice a week. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and we will see you next video. Bye.